everybody, welcome back to my channel and part 2 of my last minute Halloween ideas. It will be much more of a DIY version. We're going to be making some really fun headpieces as well as a pair of wings. So if you are interested in a less basic but still doable in an hour or two costume, then this is for you. Okay, so first we have the Ice Queen look, and here's the supplies that you'll need. First I started off with the bowl. I greased it up with some cooking spray, as you can see. And I just started off by making icicles out of hot glue. I did a really thick line all the way down that tapered at the end. And then I went back up and I did a zigzag over it to give it a bit more texture. Now you can do this a couple of times and really get it perfect, but it looks better when it's uneven. Icicles are never the same. And I did 7 of them so that there would be an odd number and one that would be right in the center of my forehead. But I just did this all the way around the bowl, about an inch apart from each other. And then I went in and did some icicles in the middle of all of those. That was about 2/3 as long as the longest ones that I have. And then I topped it off with even smaller ones until I finished. And here I am making the point in the center to really give it a queen look. And once it's all cooled, which happens very quick, you just pull it off of the bowl and you start painting the edges. Make sure that you only paint the edges of it, not directly on top, so that you can still see that it is sort of see-through like a crystal, but gives it a little bit of depth by just doing it on the side. And I just did this all the way around on every icicle, which is a little tedious. Then I added some glitter glue on top for some extra sparkle. Then I measured around my head to see how big the base would be, and I did the same technique that I did with the icicles, zigzag all the way around, and then I fortified the base of the... Once you've done a long line along the back, then you do a zigzag to really make sure that every piece is connected and strong. While it's still hot, you push it back onto the greased up bowl, and so it's flat against your head later on. Then you put some glue along the side of it and on the edge of the headband that you just made. And make sure you measure it so that it fits your head accurately before you do this step. And then you just glue it right onto there, and I'd recommend using something else and not your finger, because as you can see here, I used a lip gloss after burning myself. So that's basically it. You do that to the other side as well. And here is the final product. I gotta say, I really love how this turned out, and with the glitter, it just adds a little sparkle to it. And I really think this was a lot easier than it looks, definitely. And here's my makeup. So I hope you guys liked it. Next we have the sun and moon costume, and here's the supplies that you will need for that. I started off by just creating the little spikes to go on the headband while measuring it to make sure it still fit on the headband. And then I painted the edges to give it some dimension, and I added some little spikes between each ray so that it would look more than just 2D and flat. Then I hot glued it onto the headband, and I added some extra glitter, and I also added a wire along the edge of it to give it a halo effect. And this is the final product. Okay, so I just had to stop for a second the video and the whole process to just talk about how much I love the makeup that I did. Like, it all worked out so perfectly, and I'm just so excited for the final product. All right, back to the video. Okay, so this is me explaining what I did with this because I can't find the footage. So I started out, I cut out all of the shapes like this, right? Like I cut all of these shapes out, and then I used a paintbrush and I painted all the little edges like that. I painted, and then I used a hot glue gun to glue it onto the headband, and I used a little bit of wire, like a little bit of just plain wire to wrap it and glue that onto the headband. And yeah, that's how I did it. It was really easy. I just can't find the footage. This is the two costumes together. Really great for a couple's costume or a best friend's costume. It's really fun and easy and lets you go as glitzy or as basic as you want. Next we have Mother Nature. Here's the inspiration that I got and the supplies that you will need. Now, I cannot find the footage for this. I'm so sorry, but this is how it turned out, and I'm going to try my best to recreate what I did. So you're gonna start off with the headband, and you're going to get some wire. I used this gold wire from Michael's craft store, and I just started off by making little spikes to emulate a crown, or I guess rays as well, if you want to look at it that way. And I used, I think, like 20 gauge wire, and it made it really malleable and easy to mold. Then I got these little gold leaves. Now you can use any color leaves that you want. If you want to go more earthy, you can get greens and browns, but I wanted it to be extra, so I did gold. And then you glue down the leaves along the sides, and once they're glued down, you take some nice mesh gold, or I guess whatever color ribbon you want, and wrap it around the little spires and the leaves. And this is very basically how I did it, but again, all you really need is that, and this is how it turned out. I added some little berries and some grass to it also. last costume we have is the fairy costume, my personal favorite. Here's what you'll need. Don't forget some fun rhinestones at the end. So I started off by drawing out how I wanted the wings to look on some cardboard. I just used a box from an Amazon order that I had placed a while back. Just had the box laying around. Why not reuse it? Then I outlined that design with a marker so that I could see it, since you really can't see it with pencil. And once I did that, I went ahead and I took my very thick 16 gauge wire and I made the base, so just the edges of the two wings, so that it would really hold the shape. And then I used the thinner 20 gauge wire to make the little segments within the wing. Once I finished that, I hot glued down the base and some of the edge pieces so that it wouldn't move around when I glued it. And then I cut the shape out, as you can see here, and I continued to just make sure that it wouldn't move around later on. Now, looking back, you probably don't need to glue down every single wire, just the base, just the two base edges, but it did really help later on with the spray section. Now, once I did all of this, I went to my kitchen and I laid down. So once I finished doing that, I went to my kitchen and I cut out the exact size pieces similar to the ones that I just glued the base into, and I made sure to use some spray adhesive. I think this is the best stuff that works, honestly, and I sprayed it down. As you can see here, there were some marks. It was too thick, the amount of glue that I used. I think you could probably be about a foot away and do a very light coat and it'll still work great. And as you can see here, I laid it down very carefully so that it was still the correct shape. And once I got it all flat, I went in and I smoothed out all the wrinkles and all of the gaps. And then I did the same on the other side. So this is the final product of just spraying it down. And I did give myself quite a lot of space on the edges, but I went ahead and finished one wing so that I could show you how it would look in the end. But I will say, it looks pretty good so far. So your next step is cutting off some of the cellophane from the edge. I'd go about 1 centimeter from the wire, and then I went in and cut the shape that I wanted the wings to be. And when I did this, you're gonna want to stay at least 1 inch from each wire. Very, very carefully take a lighter and burn the edges. You really only need just a second, and it'll give a more realistic look. It's not so perfect because of the scissors, and as you can see, I was really scared. And I did burn some holes in it, so be careful. Then once you've done that, along with all the edges, you can reinforce the design by going over the wire in glitter glue. And then, as you can see, I added little dots to the edge to give it more of a butterfly look. And here's the final product. It came out really good. I must say so myself. It doesn't have to be perfect, as you can see. You can still kind of see some of the ripples and stuff, but it makes it look more worn in. And then I took some of the really thick 16 gauge wire and I created a U shape to be able to wear it within my clothing or with a corset or something like that. And so I did about 4 inches on either side and then 2 inches in the middle, and I used some masking tape to make sure none of it moved, and then I put another piece holding the 2 in the center so that the wings wouldn't flop all over the place, and then some cellophane to cover that up so that it would still look cute and pretty. Here's the makeup that I did, if you're wondering, and the wings in the background, and here's the final product. Thank you so much for watching this video. I had a blast making it. Let's be honest, I'll be wearing these until next Halloween, and I have zero shame because they turned out so good. If you decide to do one of these DIYs, make sure to send me a picture, and I will see you next week for some regularly scheduled fashion content. Thank you again for watching. Please like and subscribe. Halloween just gave me the kick I needed. So I will see you guys next week.